Got a question from Alex here who says he's having trouble with doubter. So leading up to his first tournament, he's been training for about 5 to 6 months, and he says he's feeling good. His coaches inside of the gym are supportive of him, and they say he's going to do well, but he's finding that he's getting this resistance from people outside of the gym, people that he considers friends, I imagine in high school, because he looks like he's a young guy. His friends outside of the gym are very negative, and they tell him why he's not going to do well and how he hasn't been training long enough and all these different reasons. And he's having a lot of trouble with this because these are opinions that are coming from people that he considers friends, people that are valuable to him in his life, and they're telling him these really negative things. And again, this is creating a lot of friction for him in pursuing this goal that he has, and he's wondering how he can deal with that. So Alex, first off, thanks for the question. And in my experience, there are people that are always waiting to cut you down. Sometimes they come from people that are like, people that you don't like anyway, and so that's expected. But sometimes they come from people like yourself, right, where they come from friends and family members, people that are really close to you, and it's just the nature of the beast. And I'll share some experience as to how I've dealt with those and maybe how they've happened to me, and hopefully this is useful to you. Also, any of you guys that are watching this, if you have any sort of stories where you were pursuing some sort of goal, some sort of meaningful, journey, and you had people that are trying to cut you down along the way, and you did things in spite of it, share your story. Maybe it's helpful to Alex in his pursuit. So, in my sort of the things that I was thinking about when you sent this question up, when I was in high school, I wanted to lose weight, right? Because again, I was wrestling and I was about 230 at the time, and I wanted to get down to 189. Well, when I started to lose that weight, or when I started to talk about losing the weight, a lot of my friends told me that I was like fat. Dude, you're fat. You're not going to lose the weight, right? They were there to cut me down and just tell me why I couldn't do it. And then when I got into mixed martial arts and jiu-jitsu, I had a lot of friends that were, again, that said they wanted to do it. When we were in high school, we talked about doing it. And then when I started to do it, they didn't follow. Instead, they got into drugs and alcohol, right? A lot of them. And so when there would be times where I would be training, they'd say, hey man, come party with us. And I was like, I can't party, I got to train tomorrow, and they would again, cut me down and tell me why, I was going to get hurt doing that stuff and why I wasn't good enough to do that stuff. And my mom even, I remember my first fights, my mom was like, what are you doing? Stop doing this stuff, right? And then, getting into the gym business, right? I remember that this was a big step for me. I had a nice little job going for myself. I was making money. And then I decided that, hey, I'm going to do this gym business full time and make almost no money, right? Just barely enough to cover the bills. And I'm going to just cross my fingers and hope it works. I remember plenty of people telling me why it wasn't going to work. And my mom in particular, bless her heart, she thought she knew best, and she was just trying to be supportive of me. But she was like, I wouldn't do that. Keep that job. You have a good job. Keep it, right? And then even, here's another one. This one's kind of valid or sort of useful because of what I'm doing right now. My very first YouTube video that I tried to do, right? Back in the day, I loved, watching YouTube videos. And so I was like, what? I think I have some information to share. I've been training for a long time. I think I could share some stuff that's helpful to people. And so I was going to do a gi review, right? And I was going to show all these gis because I don't know why I kept them. I used to be kind of a little bit of a hoarder with that kind of stuff. It was like nostalgia or something. So I had all these tore up gis. And I was going to do reviews of them and show you which ones tore really fast and which ones held up for a long time, and talk about the weaves and everything else, and do a really in-depth gi review. And I remember when I was trying to, again, I stumbled over some of my words, which is, I've done it already in this video, right? You just do it sometimes when you're talking. And my girlfriend was sitting there, someone I really cared about, that I wanted support from. And instead of supporting me, she was laughing at me and telling me how bad I was at it, and just kept it up. And so by the end of it, I never wanted to do a stupid video again. It wasn't until 2012 when one of my students, when I was rambling on about something, was like, man, you should probably do videos more often. I was like, it'd be kind of cool. I was like, oh, maybe, right? So it's 3 years. So again, I could have been doing those before, but instead I was too nervous or too worried about what someone else said. And so kind of getting into it, the sort of the ideas that I would share with you in these situations. One is, you cannot listen to people's people that don't have valid opinions. You can't listen to them. And what I mean by valid opinions, if someone is passing complete negative criticism and judgment on you, and they're not pursuing excellence, they're not going after some meaningful goal, they're not stepping out into uncomfortable situations, then their opinion's just not valid to me. Because again, they don't know what I'm going through. They're not in the same situations. And so for instance, in that situation, I regret not doing videos sooner, right? And there's a lot of situations that I don't regret them necessarily because things have worked out just fine, but there is a level of where I've learned from it where I'm not going to allow that to happen. I'm not going to allow someone to sort of slow me down just because they want to pass negative criticisms or whatever. And so with you have your coaches, your friends. Those are the opinions that are valuable, right? The friends that are outside the gym, they're not in the thick of it. They're not in the fight with you. They're not in there doing really crazy stuff like jiu-jitsu, right? So their opinions are just not valid. Don't even listen to them. They don't matter, right? So you cannot let them sit in your brain and hang out there, because if they do, you're getting ready to get into an extreme situation. You're probably already dealing with a lot of self-doubt and questioning, where you're going, man, am I good enough? And then to have someone that you really like care about, someone that knows you, to tell you you're not good enough, it sort of perpetuates that idea, and so you cannot let that happen. So don't even listen to it. Like, they can tell you, but don't let those thoughts sit in your brain too long. Now, the best way to sort of take those thoughts in and actually use them for fuel, right, is to, as they come in, typically I think about this, when someone tells you you can't do something that you really want to do, it hurts, it stings. And remember that, right? So for me, a lot of times I remember when I was losing weight, right? I remember people telling me, you're just fat, right? And now to take that idea, because it hurt, didn't feel good. And I remember in the mornings when I would get up, I would always think about a couple things. One would be that I wanted to be a regional champion at my weight class. I was like, okay, I want to hit this weight class and I want to be the regional champion. And then I would also think about, man, I remember all those people telling me I was fat, right? And people cutting me down about it. And so then when I would get ready to go and run or exercise, whatever, it would just be, even if I was a little tired that day, or if I didn't want to eat that like boiled chicken for the umpteenth time, I would just think about that thought, feel the sting of it, and I would just get down to do whatever I was supposed to do. And it's even happened like that in everything else, like when I've done the jiu-jitsu business stuff or whatever. Anytime I'm getting ready to do something that's going to be tough and I don't really want to do it, sometimes I'll think about what it was like for people to tell me that I couldn't do it, or think about what it's going to be like, because it's going to be worse if I have to go back to those people and say, yeah, you were right, I failed, right? And then I was like, I'm going to work as hard as I can to make sure that doesn't happen. And you can use that for your own training when you start getting into those trainings, because tournament training's hard, man. So when you're in the thick of it and you're getting tired, or when you don't want to go to training that day because you're tired, or because you've got other things you want to do, remember what it felt like to have your friends tell you you couldn't do something, and to feel that sting, and then say, I'm going to get after it because I don't want to feel that again, and I want to be able to turn it around and show them, like, look how good I did. Look at this medal, right? Look at this gold medal that I have, or look at this submission that I got on this person, whatever it is, right? To show them the fruits of your labor. And the last thing I would say, man, is just focus on the valuable opinions from valid sources. Again, I talked about which ones are not valid. The valid sources to me are people that are out there pursuing excellence, people that are doing something, people that are putting themselves into uncomfortable situations and really pushing themselves. Not sitting, because again, a lot of people are just living, man. They're just hanging out, right? They're not really doing anything. They don't try to challenge themselves very often. The people that are out there challenging themselves, typically, from what I've experienced, when they give you opinions, they're not completely negative. They may give you some criticism and tell you, hey, maybe you could do a little bit better here or there, but they're not downright like, you're gonna fail, you suck, right? It's nothing like that, because they know what it's like to be out there. They know what it's like to take that step out into the uncomfortable spots, right? And so those people have valid opinions. Take those opinions and hang on to them. And there's been people that I've been lucky enough to have in my life where, again, mentors, people that were like, when I did the gym business, there was a guy who I met who was a mentor for me for several years, who was a gym owner himself. He was an old guy. He was like 60 years old, but he was like still like doing like a behind the neck press with 255 pounds. He could do like 315 on an incline. He had done strongman competitions, bodybuilding competitions, Olympic weightlifting competitions back in the day. He was a vibrant person. He was like 60, in his upper 60s, and he was vibrant, excited, right? Fun to be around, which is not typical for someone that age, right? And when I met him, I was like, man, like, this is awesome. And so when I was thinking about doing the gym business, while everyone else was telling me what a terrible idea it was, he was very encouraging. He was like, man, no, you should go towards that. Try it. And I'm here to offer advice if you like some. He gave me advice both good and bad, right? And I have had friends in other places that have done this. And so it's very important to take those opinions and that are valuable and valid and hang on to those. Take that information, hold on to that. Don't worry about that other stuff. Take those and really hold on to those and use those to sort of follow and focus on, rather than the negative stuff from people that aren't doing something. And the last thing I'll say, man, and this is just a quick little add-on. I was reading a passage recently in a book, and this is sort of, to me, very very valid for this situation. I said the word valid like 20 times in this video. But the passage goes that if you are living the path that you're supposed to lead, right? Something like that. If you're living the path that you're supposed to lead, meaning you're doing something meaningful for you, then birds are going to shit on you. Don't even bother brushing it off. When I read that, man, I stopped. I was like, man, that's so good. And that's what I'd say to you, man. If you're a young guy, this is going to happen over and over again throughout your life. People are going to shit on you, man. Just the way it is. Don't even worry about it. Don't bother brushing it off. Just keep moving forward and do what you want to do. So, guys, hope that helps. Thanks for the question, Alex.